Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome yet again to this episode of Dinner Guide. My name is Chef Andy, and today we're going to be taking a beautiful tour around some beautiful 5 continents, and we're going to be specializing particularly on the South American continent. I've got something interesting for you called an empanada, and I'll start by introducing the ingredients which we'll be working with today. So from the very front, I've got some cumin and some garam masala. We've also got some vinegar, some dried parsley, some garlic powder there, a bit of fresh garlic, a bit of tomato salsa, also a bit of some coriander and 1 piece of red onion. I've also got some beautiful dough here which we're going to be wrapping our empanadas in, and also a bit of salt and pepper for seasoning, a bit of olive oil which we're going to be cooking with, also some beautiful lean beef mince, a bit of some red and yellow peppers there, some lemon and 1 piece of lime, and last but not least, 1 piece of 1 whole egg. So we're going to take a short break now, give you time to freshen up and grab your pens and papers if you're taking notes. And when we come back, we are going to dive right into the process of making this very beautiful dish. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're just about to start making our empanadas, and I'm going to start off by cooking our lean beef mince. So very, very important. Always remember to have the freshest of mince, especially if you're going to be making anything with minced meat. Very, two important checkpoints. Always make sure that it's got a nice, beautiful freshness to it, and it's got just a bit of blood in it. Also avoid lean mince or any mince whatsoever that's grayish and it looks kind of off. That might actually give you some food poisoning. So very importantly, if you have the chance to mince your beef before you actually prepare this dish, it's a very much a better way to actually tackle this very simple dish. But if you do have an option to buy frozen mince, it will actually work just the same. So we're going to start off very simply by adding a bit of oil to our pan, and we're going to proceed to reheat. And all you need to do at this stage is add your beef mince to your pan, and basically all you're going to do now is continue to cook your beans until it's about 3/4 way cooked. And we're basically now going to introduce more of the other ingredients a little bit later. But very simply, start off your pan cold. So add your mince into your pan cold. Don't allow your pan to heat up because it will seal the meat. And at this stage, you're actually just trying to broil your meat. So proceed by breaking the chunks with a wooden spoon and mix continuously in your pan. Of course, making sure not to leave your pan unattended, because you can actually have your meats overcooking and becoming very crispy, and it's not going to be as delectable as you'd love it if it was nice and tender. So proceed to fry your mince, cooking your mince at anywhere between medium to high heat. Of course, always avoid to cook your meat at very high heat, particularly because it will make your meat a little tough, and especially for mince, it will actually overcolor your meat, and it might actually give your filling quite a bit of a dark color, which is something that you're trying to avoid. Alright, so we're just going to give our mince a few minutes. So we're going to continue continuously stirring this, but in an interval of about 3 to 4 minutes. And that should give it just enough time to cook on the bottom before you proceed to mix everything together. And while that continues, we're also going to proceed to reheat another pan. To that, we are going to proceed to cook, or to rather activate, some of our dried spices. So for that, I'll be using some garam masala, some cumin, and some garlic powder. And you're just going to add those in equal amounts. And at this stage, give your spices just a bit of time to heat up. And coming back to your meat, once again, remember to always proceed to give the same intervals before you proceed to mix the mixture. And allow for more cooking right in between. Next up, we're also going to be adding the spices into our beef, but we're actually going to let that give that a bit of time to really get those aromas going. And for that, you'll just require a spoon to break those lumps from the garlic powder. And all you need to do now is proceed to continue mixing everything together on your pan, just until you start to get the aromas of your dried spices. Just proceed to just break any of those big pieces that you may still have. And after about a minute, as soon as you start to really get that toasty aroma from your pan, proceed to move your pans proceed to move your seasoning or your spices onto a plate, and allow that to rest for a few minutes. And all you need to do now is return your heat to the pan and allow to reheat once more. Of course, not remembering to mix your beef as it continues to cook. And now we're just about halfway, and the beef mince is just starting to turn to this beautiful brownish, grayish kind of color. At this point, just proceed to continue mixing. And you should actually notice your mince start to really dry out and start to break up into some smaller chunks. Now at this stage, we're just going to allow our mince to cool off slightly in the pan, and we're going to grab the next pan and proceed to cook all the other ingredients. So we're going to start off by peeling some garlic cloves, and very simple technique of doing that is just using the side of your knife to smash those cloves against your board, and you should actually have the skins come out very, very simply. So just proceed to peel all your garlic. We're going to be using about 3 cloves of garlic. So proceed to chop those just roughly on the board. And once that's done, proceed to add some oil to the same pan that you cooked your spices in. And proceed now to add your garlic. Just give that just a bit of time to really just grasp the aromas of the pan. While that continues to cook, proceed to chop your red onion. Of course, chopping it into the smallest size you possibly can. Proceed to add that to the pan with the garlic. And continue to toss your ingredients, allowing them to just blend in flavor for about 20 to 30 seconds. Of course, occasionally tossing. and cooking that at anywhere between medium to low heat. And once those are cooked, just switch your pans around and return the pan with the beef onto the heat, and proceed to add all your fried up condiments in there, adding of course the spices that you had cooked a little earlier. And of course just a little bit of oil to ensure that your mixture doesn't burn while cooking in the pan. And just proceed to mix everything together. And you can now actually turn your heat a little higher. And that should allow you to dry off your mince mixture a little faster. Next up, proceed to add your vinegar and your tomato salsa. And at this stage, if you're actually feeling like having a bit of spice and a kick to your empanadas, you can also incorporate a bit of some chili powder or some fresh chilies. Now all you need to do at this stage is continue to cook your mince. Of course, making sure to try and cook out as much liquid from your meat as you can. And just to grab some of the ingredients to finish that off, we're also going to be adding to that some peppers. So proceed to julienne your red pepper first. And do the same for the yellow pepper. And now proceed to cut them into some very, very small brunoise cubes. Now, particularly for this dish, very, very common to actually find the original recipe containing some green peppers. I've actually just done an alternative of that and used some colored peppers, because this particularly give you empanadas a really beautiful color once you bite into them when they're done. But you can actually just go with some green peppers and it will actually not give you much of a difference, just a little less of a sweetness. So add your peppers and continue to mix through. And at this stage, you can proceed now to add your seasoning. So be sure to add quite a bit of some black peppercorns, freshly crushed. So about half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon. And a bit of salt as well for taste. And proceed to mix again once more. Of course, moderating your heat between low and medium. Of course, you don't really want to rush your mixture, so be sure to regulate your temperature as you proceed. And continue to mix through. Of course, paying attention to your mixture, watching for any traces of your liquid continuously evaporating, and your mixture to continue drying out as you proceed to fry. And now, just to finish that off, a nice big hand of some fresh coriander. Proceed to just press those onto your board and just proceed to chop coarsely, including of course both the leaves and the stems. and that should actually give you about 1 heaped tablespoon of fresh coriander. Now proceed to mix through once more. And now your empanada mixture, your empanada filling is done. You can now proceed to turn off the heat, and of course grab a plate and proceed to empty your mixture onto the plate, and that should actually aid you in cooling your mixture a little faster. Once you're done, just proceed to press down onto the plate. Of course, spreading your mixture as far and wide as you can on your plate, and that should allow you the shortest time and the quickest time to cool off your mixture before you proceed to start filling your empanada cases. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is as easy as it is to make an empanada filling. We are going to take a short commercial break while we allow that to cool off, and when we do come back, I'm going to show you what to do with the dough. We'll also just go through some small tips on how to roll them out, and I'll also show you some empanadas that we had made a little earlier, which you'll be able to see what they look like once they're done. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just with us before we took the break, we were on the last and final stage of finishing off your empanada, and I'm about to show you how that is done very, very simply. So for that, you will require your baking tray first and foremost, and a bit of some wax paper. And I'm just going to use a bit of some butter on the pan there. Just put a few dollops, just scatter them all over the place, and that should actually help you to hold your wax paper right in place. And that is as simple as it is. You can actually also use a regular non-stick pan. You won't then really need your wax paper, but if you don't actually own a wax grease-proof or rather a non-stick kind of pan, then this is a very, very good option for you. Now next up, we're going to proceed to roll out our empanada dough. So very, very simple technique. Of course, always reserve a bit of flour on the side for dusting, and proceed foremost by dusting your surface where you're going to be rolling your empanada dough on. And now proceed foremost to separate that into two. Remember, you're going to be making 2 empanadas, so separate those a little bit ahead of time and just reconstitute them into golf-sized balls. So that should be a very, very good size for a good empanada. And all you're left to do now is proceed to roll it out. So begin by dusting your board. Dust your hands lightly and press your ball just slightly over the top and turn it over. Press it once more and proceed to roll it out. Of course, starting with the middle and working your way towards the outside. Turn over once, dust slightly, and proceed to do so until you've got about a 1/4 inch thickness of your dough. So at this particular stage, don't really worry about the shape. You can actually just make it a little easier for yourself, and I'll show you how. Right, so once you're done rolling out your dough and it's got a nice and consistent thickness right through, very simply, always use something that can give you a bit of a guide, especially when cutting dough, and this particular plate does it really well. Just place that on top of your rolled out sheet of dough and proceed to cut using a pizza cutter like the one I have, or just a regular knife, and it will just give you the same result. Now remove that excess and discard, and your dough now is ready. Now you're going to proceed to do the same thing for your second piece. And proceed to roll out your dough once more, starting in the center and working your way towards the edges. Turn over, dust lightly, and proceed to roll out until you have a similar thickness just to the other one. As I said, 1/4 of an inch in thickness, or rather anywhere something as thin as a chapati or a roti will actually do just fine. Turn once more and just level your dough out, making sure to always roll all the way to the edges, and proceed to do the same as you did for the first. Place your plate and proceed to cut out your wrapper, and once more discard the excess. And now your dough is nice and ready for filling. So just a very small reminder as well, always try and also just rub off any excess flour that would be on your dough once you're done rolling it out and you're just about ready to fill it in. But be sure to always clean the side that's on the inside. This will actually make sure that it's nice and dry to hold your filling, and leave the outside a little dusty, which will actually allow for you to put your egg wash much later. So proceed to grab a spoon and your filling. So this we had actually made earlier, it's now cooled off, and we can now spoon that onto our dough. So proceed to pour in about 2.5 tablespoons of your mixture right in the middle of your dough, and proceed once to just lift the side closest to you and just flap that right over the top, and proceed to just give a firm soft press, and always proceed by starting to press in the pocket from one side and go around, and this will actually help you to really reduce the air and to really get rid of the air that is on the inside. And then just proceed to do so until you've got all your mixture constituted at the back of your dough, and you've got that little bit of extra on the front. And very simply grab a fork and always dust it a little bit. It will help you to just get by. Now just proceed to press right around the rim of your dough, of course pressing in and lifting. And once that's done, proceed to just use your pizza cutter or a knife and just trim off any excess dough that you may not need, and discard that, leaving you with a nice beautiful empanada. And you can actually now move that onto your baking sheet and proceed to do the same. Turn it over, dust on the inside, and proceed to add your filling. As we said, 2.5 tablespoons. And now once more proceed to start from the side closest to you and fold over, pressing lightly over the top and beginning to go around with your thumb, making sure to push out any excess air. And once more proceed with a fork to go around your pocket. Of course, making sure to come as closest as you can to that big beautiful ball there, and proceed to use your pizza cutter once more to trim off any excess on the edges and discard. And now this is ready to go onto your baking sheet. So some very, very important checkpoints at this stage. You will have to egg wash this. Remember, it will go into an oven, and you do also want to have a nice, beautiful golden finish and presentation to it. So one particular trick I like to use, and I prefer to use kitchen paper because it is very, very hygienic and very sanitary. Very, very good for actually doing your egg wash. So proceed to just wet the tip of your kitchen paper and proceed to just brush right over your dough, making sure, of course, to go around and coat every single bit of that dough that is visible to your eye, which means the only side you would be coating is the bottom. So go around the first one and proceed to do the same for the second piece. And of course, always making sure to put the thinnest layer you can possibly can. Please don't be tempted to pour your egg wash right over the top, because what you'll end up with is some scrambled egg right on the side of your empanada as soon as it goes into the oven. So once you've gone around each of those twice, discard your kitchen towel and proceed to just finish off your empanadas by just pressing in once more and sliding out. And just use a bit of flour as you go right around your empanada. And then just proceed to just finish off, making sure to check that your empanada is nice and tight before it goes into the oven, and that you don't have any air pockets right on the inside. And then now, last but not least, put a small incision right over the top, and that is basically going to allow for any excess moisture in there that may be trapped and may want to actually open your empanada. So this is now going to go into the oven for anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. So set at about 180 degrees and calibrate it to anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and just give that a bit of time to cook. And in the meantime, we're just going to just clear our counter really quickly, and I will also get to show you some empanadas we've done a little earlier. Right, so just grab your plate. So I'm just going to be using a regular white plate for the plating. I also have a bit of beautiful lemon wedges which you can actually serve on the side. Alternatively, you can also have a very simple dip. But I will show you some empanadas we had done a little earlier. And as you can see, those are nice and beautifully golden. As you can see, it's formed out really well. And all you have now is a beautiful filling encased in a beautiful bread case. So simply just grab those and place on the plate like that. And you can actually just serve that with 2 or 3 lemon wedges. And that should do for a very, very refining empanada. So I will thank you once more for tuning in today. I hope you've actually enjoyed the show today, and you've learned something you can incorporate into your very own kitchens at home. On my end, we are done, and that's the last and final stage of your empanada. All that's left to do is just to plate that, serve it, and let your family enjoy their dinner. So from the studios, thank you so much. I will remind you once more, we do appreciate your feedback, so do check out our Facebook page, leave your questions, comments, or any inquiries pertaining the show. We definitely appreciate hearing from you. So from my end, thank you so much once more, and a lovely night to you all, and see you on the next episode.